The station floated in the darkness like a dead whale in an empty ocean. Deho checked his scanner again and frowned. The distress beacon was still pinging, but something felt wrong. Dead stations did not usually keep their power running for weeks. "Captain, I really think we should reconsider this," Tae-Yang said through the comm. His voice crackled with static. Deho ignored him and pushed forward through the airlock. The salvage business was not for people who listened to their fears. Besides, his crew needed this score. They had bills to pay and mouths to feed. The interior of the station was dark except for emergency lights that blinked red every few seconds. Deho moved carefully down the corridor, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. He had been doing salvage work for 5 years now. Ever since he left the military, he knew how to stay quiet and stay alive. Something moved in the shadows ahead. Deho raised his plasma cutter, which was not really a weapon but could work as one in desperate times. His heart hammered in his chest. The movement came again, faster this time. Then the shooting started. Defense drones poured out of the walls like angry wasps from a broken nest. Their weapons lit up the darkness with blue energy blasts. Deho ran, cursing loudly in 3 different languages. He ducked into a side passage as the wall behind him exploded into sparks and molten metal. "Tae-Yang, we have active defenses. Get out of here," he shouted into his comm. Nothing but static answered him. Deho kept running. The drones were fast, but they moved in patterns. Military programming. He had seen it before. He counted their shots, memorized their timing, and then made a break for a maintenance shaft. He pulled himself up just as 3 drones converged on his position. The shaft was tight and dark. Deho crawled through it for what felt like hours but was probably only 10 minutes. When he finally dropped out the other side, he found himself in what looked like a research lab. Strange equipment covered the tables. Alien symbols glowed on screens that should have been dead. That was when he heard breathing. Not human breathing. Something deeper, controlled, powerful. Deho turned slowly and found himself staring at the largest suit of armor he had ever seen. It stood almost 7 feet tall, covered in plates that looked like they were grown rather than built. The armor was dark purple, with gold markings that seemed to move in the light. And inside that armor was something that could definitely kill him. "Do not move, scavenger," a voice said. It sounded female, but carried a strange accent that his translator struggled to process. "I am not moving," Deho said carefully. "I am very still. See? Very still." The armored figure took a step closer. "You are human. That is correct. And you are Valthrine, Commander Hana of the Empire's 3rd Fleet." The armor's helmet tilted slightly. "Why are you here?" "Salvage. The distress beacon. I thought—" Deho trailed off as understanding hit him. "You activated the beacon." "Yes, 3 weeks ago. I did not expect a human to answer." Hana's tone suggested she was not pleased about this development. Before Deho could respond, the entire room shook. Alarms began blaring. Red lights flooded the lab with bloody illumination. Through the windows, Deho could see something massive moving in the station's central corridor. "What is that?" he asked. Hana's armor turned toward the window. Even through the metal, Deho could sense her tension. "The Guardian mech. I have been trying to avoid it for weeks." The thing that appeared in the window was 3 times the size of Hana's armor. It had 6 arms, each holding a different weapon. Its head swept back and forth, scanning with sensors that glowed like angry red eyes. "We need to move," Deho said. "There is nowhere to move to. I have mapped this entire station. Every corridor leads back to the central hub. The mech controls it all." Deho looked around the lab. His mind was already working, the way it always did when things got bad. He had learned in the military that humans did not win fights by being stronger. They won by being smarter, stranger, and more willing to try stupid things. "The power cores," he said. pointing at the equipment on the tables. "These are old research stations. They always have backup generators in the labs for sensitive experiments." "So?" "So we overload them. Create an electromagnetic pulse. It will not destroy the mech, but it might confuse its sensors long enough for us to move." Hana stared at him through her helmet's visor. "That is insane. The pulse could kill us too." "Do you have a better idea?" She did not. They worked together quickly. Hana ripped power cores from the machines with her armored hands, while Daeho rewired them into a makeshift bomb. It was crude work, the kind of thing that would make his old engineering instructor cry. But it would work. Probably. "How do you know this will function?" Hana asked as they worked. "I do not. But humans are very good at making things explode. It is kind of our specialty." That is not reassuring. It was not meant to be reassuring. It was meant to be honest. The mech smashed through the wall just as Daeho finished connecting the last wire. Its massive arm reached for them, weapons charging with deadly light. Daeho grabbed the detonator and pressed it without hesitation. The world turned white. When Daeho's vision cleared, he was lying on the floor. His ears rang like church bells. The mech was still standing, but it was moving randomly, its sensors clearly scrambled. Sparks flew from its joints. A metal hand grabbed his arm and pulled him up. Hana hauled him through a hole in the wall, and they ran together through corridors that twisted and turned. Behind them, the mech crashed blindly, destroying everything in its path. They finally stopped in a small storage room. Hana sealed the door behind them with some kind of energy field from her armor. They both collapsed against the walls, breathing hard. "That actually worked," Hana said. She sounded surprised. "You sound shocked." "I am. Human technology is supposed to be primitive." Daeho laughed despite everything. "Primitive does not mean ineffective, we just do things differently." Hana's helmet turned toward him. He still could not see her face, but he felt her studying him. "Yes, I am beginning to understand that." Outside, the mech's footsteps faded into the distance. The drones had stopped hunting. They had bought themselves time, but Daeho knew it would not last forever. They were still trapped on a dying station with limited air and no way to call for help. But somehow, having the massive alien warrior next to him made things feel slightly less hopeless. Just slightly. The storage room was small, cold, and smelled like old metal. Daeho sat against one wall while Hana stood against the other. Even sitting down, she seemed ready to fight. Her armor never relaxed. "The drones follow a patrol pattern," Hana explained. Her voice came through speakers in her helmet, slightly distorted. "Every 48 hours, they return to their charging stations. We must wait. 2 days locked in a closet with an alien warrior. Great." Daeho pulled out his emergency rations and examined them. 3 protein bars and a water pouch. "This will be fun." "Fun?" Hana's helmet tilted. "We are trapped. Our situation is dire. How is this fun?" It was sarcasm. "Sarcasm? You know, saying the opposite of what you mean, for humor?" Hana was quiet for a long moment. "Your species makes jokes when facing death?" "Especially when facing death. It helps." Daeho bit into a protein bar. It tasted like cardboard mixed with sadness. "What do Valthrine do when things get bad?" "We pray to the old warriors. We prepare our minds for honorable death. We do not joke." "That sounds depressing." "That sounds disciplined," Hana corrected. She finally sat down, her armor making grinding sounds as it adjusted. "Humor in the face of danger shows lack of respect for the severity of the situation." Daeho laughed. "Or it shows we refuse to let the danger control us." "Different perspective." Hana removed her helmet, and Daeho got his first look at her face. She was definitely alien. Her skin was pale blue-gray. Her eyes were large and golden without visible pupils. and she had markings along her cheekbones that looked like tattoos, but moved slightly. Despite all this, there was something beautiful about her features. Strong, noble. "You are staring," she said. "Sorry. First time seeing a Valthrine without armor." "I still wear armor. I only removed my helmet." She reached into a compartment on her suit and pulled out something that looked like dried meat. "You should eat more. Maintain strength." "I am good with my bars, thanks." Hana shrugged and bit into her food. The smell hit Daeho immediately. It was sharp, almost acidic, with a sweetness underneath that made his stomach turn. "What is that?" he asked. "Preserved krell meat, standard military rations." She held it out. "Try some?" "I should not. It is rude to refuse offered food among my people. It suggests you do not trust the giver." Daeho sighed and took a small piece. He put it in his mouth and immediately regretted everything. The taste was overwhelming, like someone had mixed battery acid with rotten fruit. He forced himself to swallow and then coughed hard. "Water!" he gasped. Hana handed him his pouch, looking concerned. "You do not like it?" "It is not that. Human biology. We cannot process the same foods as you. That thing is probably toxic to me." "Oh." Hana pulled the meat away quickly, looking genuinely worried. "I did not know. I apologize. I did not mean to poison you. It is fine. I will live. Probably." Daeho drank more water. "See, this is why we need better cultural exchange programs." They sat in silence for a while. Daeho studied Hana when he thought she was not looking. She sat perfectly straight, her hands resting on her knees. Every movement was controlled, precise. It was like watching a statue that occasionally breathed. "Can I ask you something?" Daeho said. "Ask." "The armor. Is it always on? Do you ever take it off?" Hana's expression changed. It was subtle, but Daeho caught it. Discomfort, maybe embarrassment. "Valthrine warriors are bonded to their armor when they reach adulthood. It is linked to our nervous system. We can remove it, but we do not." "Never?" "Only in meditation chambers, or with—" She paused. "With one's life mate." "Life mate? Like a spouse?" "Similar. A bond between two warriors who have proven themselves to each other. It is rare, sacred." Daeho nodded slowly, sensing he had touched on something important. "So the armor is not just protection, it is part of you." "Yes. To be without it in the presence of others is—" Hana struggled to find the word. "Vulnerable, intimate, not appropriate." "I understand. Humans have similar things. Not armor, but concepts. Personal space, privacy." "Yes, I have read about human customs. You are strange creatures. You mate for pleasure, not just reproduction. You keep animals as companions. You create art that serves no tactical purpose." "Guilty on all counts." Daeho smiled. "But those things make life worth living. You really do not have any of that. We have music, battle songs, stories of great warriors. But art for its own sake? Pets? These things seem—" She searched for the word again. "Wasteful? Or beautiful?" Hana looked at him with those strange golden eyes. "Perhaps both." As the hours passed, they talked more. Hana told him about Valthrine culture, about a society built entirely around military service and honor. Every citizen was a warrior. Every decision was judged by whether it brought glory to the empire. It sounded exhausting to Daeho, but he kept that thought to himself. In return, he told her about Earth, about cities full of people who would never fight a battle, about artists and musicians and scientists who spent their whole lives creating things that had no military value, about the wars humanity had fought against impossible odds, losing again and again, but never surrendering. "Your species is weak," Hana said. But there was no insult in her voice. Just observation. No natural armor. No enhanced strength. Short lifespans. And yet you survived. We adapt. We improvise. We cheat when we have to. Daeho grinned. We are very good at cheating. Like the electromagnetic pulse. Exactly like that. A Valthrine warrior would have fought the mech directly, right? Honor combat? Yes. And probably died. Hana nodded slowly. Yes, probably. Humans do not believe in fair fights. We believe in winning. Daeho stretched his legs out. It is not honorable, but it keeps us alive. There is honor in survival, Hana said quietly. My people forget that sometimes. We value glorious death more than strategic retreat. It has cost us. They were quiet again, but it was a different kind of silence now, more comfortable. After several more hours, Daeho's eyes started to close. He fought against sleep, but exhaustion won. Rest, Hana said. I will keep watch. You need sleep too. Valthrine can function for 72 hours without rest. I will wake you if danger comes. Daeho wanted to argue, but his body had other ideas. As he drifted off, he heard Hana humming something. A battle song, probably. It sounded sad and beautiful at the same time. His last thought before sleep took him was that maybe Valthrine were not so different from humans after all. They just showed it differently. When he woke, Hana was still sitting in the exact same position, watching, protecting, the enemy warrior who had become something like a friend in the span of a day. The drones will finish their patrol cycle in 6 hours, she said. We should prepare to move. Daeho nodded and stood up, his back complaining about sleeping on metal floor. Together? Hana's face showed something that might have been a smile. Together. The final hours in the storage room felt longer than all the previous ones combined. Daeho checked his equipment 3 times. His plasma cutter had maybe 20 minutes of charge left. His oxygen recycler was working, but the filters were getting old. Everything smelled like stale air and nervous sweat. Hana stood by the door, monitoring the hallway through sensors in her armor. She had been silent for the past hour, which Daeho had learned meant she was either thinking hard or preparing for battle, probably both. The patrol cycle ends in 30 minutes, she said finally. We will have a window of approximately 12 minutes to reach the docking bay. After that, the drones will reactivate. 12 minutes to cross half the station, while avoiding the mech. No problem. Daeho tried to sound confident and failed completely. Hana turned to look at him. You are afraid? Of course I am afraid. Fear keeps you alive. Valthrine warriors do not show fear. We master it. Humans feel it and do the thing anyway. Different approach, same result. Daeho stood up and stretched. His back popped in 3 places. Besides, I have you. Giant alien warrior with super armor. What could go wrong? Many things. The mech could have repaired itself. The drones might have changed their patterns. The docking bay could be compromised. We could run out of oxygen before we reach safety. Do you want me to continue? Please do not. Daeho checked his oxygen gauge again. Nervous habit. Hey, can I ask you something personal? That depends on the question. Why were you here, on this station, alone? Hana was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer than usual. Reconnaissance mission. The Empire detected strange energy readings from this sector. I was sent to investigate. When I arrived, the mech activated. It damaged my ship. I had to evacuate here. She paused. I have been alone for 23 days. That is a long time. Yes. Valthrine are not meant to be alone. We are warriors, but we fight in units. In families. Being isolated is... She struggled with the word. Wrong. Daeho understood that feeling more than he wanted to admit. I know what you mean. After I left the military, I thought being alone would be freedom. Turned out it was just lonely. You understand then? Yeah, I do. They stood together in silence. Outside, The last drone passed by their hiding spot. The station's lights flickered as systems began their reset cycle. "It is time," Hana said. Daiho nodded and picked up his small bag of equipment. "Before we go, I just want to say, if we do not make it, do not speak of death before battle. It invites misfortune. It is a human custom, making peace, just in case." Hana considered this. "What is your custom, then? What do humans say before possible death?" "Different things. Some pray, some tell jokes, some talk about what they want most if they survive. And you? What do you want most?" Daiho's brain was tired. He had been awake for almost 20 hours straight, running on adrenaline and protein bars that tasted like punishment. He was scared, exhausted, and not thinking clearly. So when Hana asked what he desired most, his mouth answered before his brain could catch up. "You." He meant her help, her combat skills, having her by his side in the fight. But the single word hung in the air between them like a grenade with the pin pulled. Hana went completely still. "Wait," Daiho said quickly. "I did not mean—" A deep humming sound filled the room. It came from Hana's armor, a resonance that made Daiho's teeth ache. He watched in growing horror as panels on her armor began to retract. The neural interface was disconnecting. She was removing her armor. "No, wait, stop!" Daiho held up his hands. "It was a joke, a misunderstanding. I meant I wanted your help, not whatever this is." Hana's helmet folded back into her collar. Her golden eyes locked onto his. "I know what you meant." "Then why are you taking off your armor?" "Because among my people, when a warrior you respect makes such a declaration, refusing would be a grave dishonor." More armor plates retracted, revealing the tight bodysuit underneath. "You have earned my respect, Daiho. In one day you showed me things about humanity I never understood. Creativity, humor, resilience. You are not like anyone I have met." "But I was joking." "I know, but I am not." The chest plate disconnected with a hiss of releasing pressure. Daiho could see her clearly now without the armor's bulk. She was tall, muscular, her blue-gray skin marked with scars that told stories of old battles. She stood there, vulnerable in a way she had said was sacred. "This is insane," Daiho said. "We are about to run through a death trap. You need your armor." "Valthrine are strong without armor. We are fast. We are trained from childhood." Hana stepped closer to him. "And I choose this. Not because I misunderstood your words, but because I understood them perfectly. You desire my presence, my partnership, and I find that I desire yours as well." "You barely know me." "I have seen you in crisis. I have watched you think and fight and adapt. Among my people, that is worth more than years of peaceful acquaintance." She reached out and placed a hand on his shoulder. Without the armor, her touch was warm, gentle. "Do you truly wish me to stop?" Daiho looked at her, really looked at her, at this alien warrior who had shared her food and her stories, who had trusted him enough to show vulnerability, who was choosing him even though he was just a human salvager with bad jokes and worse equipment. "No," he said quietly. "I do not want you to stop, but I also do not want you to die because of some cultural misunderstanding." "Then we will not die." Hana smiled, and it transformed her face completely. She looked younger, happier. "We will survive together, and then we will figure out what comes next." "Just like that?" "Just like that. Humans are not the only ones who can adapt." The final pieces of her armor retracted into a compact form on her back, like a metal backpack. She stood before him in just the bodysuit, and Daiho realized she was not helpless at all. Every muscle was defined, ready. She moved like water, testing her range of motion. "I have not been without armor in combat since I was a child," she said. "It is strange, frightening, but also—" She paused, searching for the word. "Free." We make a good pair, then. The scared human and the free alien. Yes, we do. The door's alarm beeped. The patrol cycle was complete. Their window had opened. Hana looked at him, her golden eyes bright with something that might have been excitement or terror or both. Ready? Daeho thought about all the terrible decisions he had made in his life. This one was definitely in the top 5. But it also felt right in a way he could not explain. Ready. They opened the door together and stepped out into the corridor. The station was quiet, waiting. The mech's footsteps echoed somewhere in the distance. Hana grabbed his hand. Her skin was warm, her grip strong. Stay close. Trust me, and if I tell you to run, you run. Same to you. She laughed, a sound like music. Agreed. They ran together into the darkness, and Daeho knew that whatever happened next, at least he would not face it alone. The corridor stretched ahead like a metal throat. Emergency lights cast everything in red shadows. Daeho's boots hit the floor in rhythm with Hana's bare feet. She moved without sound, a ghost in the darkness. Left here, Hana whispered. She pulled him around a corner just as a security camera swiveled toward them. Without her armor's sensor suite, she was relying on memory and instinct. Daeho followed, trusting her completely. They had 8 minutes left. The first drone appeared when they reached the central junction. It dropped from the ceiling with a mechanical screech, its weapons already charging. Daeho raised his plasma cutter, but Hana was faster. She moved like liquid, flowing around the drone's first shot, and drove her fist into its sensor cluster. The drone sparked and fell. How did you? Daeho started. Valthyrene strength. Our muscles are denser than human muscles. Now move. They ran again. More drones appeared, attracted by the noise. Hana destroyed 2 more with her bare hands, moving so fast Daeho could barely track her. But he noticed she was breathing harder now. Without the armor's protection, every fight cost her. There are too many, he said. We need a different approach. What do you suggest? Daeho looked around frantically. They were in a service corridor now, pipes and conduits running along the walls. His salvager's eye caught on something. There. The cooling system. What about it? These drones use thermal sensors to track movement. If we flood this section with hot coolant, they will not be able to see us. That is insane. You keep saying that. I keep being right. Daeho was already running toward the main coolant valve. He pulled out his plasma cutter and started cutting through the lock. Hana positioned herself between him and the approaching drones. She moved into a fighting stance, her body low and balanced. Daeho recognized it from old martial arts videos. Simple, efficient, deadly. The first drone fired. Hana dodged left, grabbed a piece of broken pipe from the floor, and threw it like a spear. It punched through the drone's casing and embedded in its core. The machine exploded in a shower of sparks. Impressive, Daeho muttered as he worked. I told you. We trained from childhood. Hana caught another drone and literally tore it in half. How much longer? Almost there! The lock broke. Daeho grabbed the valve wheel and spun it. Cover your face! Superheated coolant sprayed out like a geyser. The temperature in the corridor jumped 20 degrees in seconds. Steam filled the air, thick and choking. The drones immediately started malfunctioning, their sensors overwhelmed by the heat. Run! Daeho grabbed Hana's hand and pulled her through the steam. They could not see anything, but neither could the drones. They stumbled forward, half blind, trusting luck and momentum. They burst out of the steam cloud into a clear corridor. The docking bay was ahead, its doors visible through a massive window. But between them and salvation stood the Guardian mech. It had repaired itself. The damage from Daeho's electromagnetic pulse was gone. All 6 arms were functional, weapons charged and ready, its sensors locked onto them immediately. Oh, that is not good, Daeho said. Hana stepped in front of him, her body tense. I will fight it. You run to the bay. No. Daeho, I cannot win this fight without armor, but I can buy you time. I said no. We survived together, remember? Daeho's mind was racing. The mech was too big to fight directly, too heavily armored for his cutter to damage. But there had to be something, some weakness, some human trick he could use. The mech fired. Hana grabbed Daeho and dove sideways. The wall behind them vaporized. They rolled together, coming up in a crouch. I am open to suggestions, Hana said. Daeho looked at the mech, really looked at it. 6 arms, lots of weapons. Powerful. But something was wrong with how it moved. It was slow, deliberate, like it was following a script. It is still using the old combat protocols, he said. Watch. It aims, calculates trajectory, then fires. 3-second delay. So we do not be where it thinks we will be. Daeho grabbed a piece of debris and threw it down the corridor. The mech's sensors tracked the movement. Its weapons followed. Exactly 3 seconds later, it fired at where the debris had been. See? It predicts movement based on trajectory. It cannot handle random patterns. Hana's eyes widened. You want to use chaos against it? Exactly. Valthrine fight with discipline and form. Humans fight with whatever works. Daeho grinned. Follow my lead and do not move in straight lines. He charged at the mech, zigging and zagging randomly. The mech fired where it thought he would be, but Daeho was already somewhere else. Hana caught on immediately, moving in her own unpredictable pattern. The mech tried to track them both, its targeting system struggling. Now! Daeho shouted. Hana leaped, using her full strength. She cleared 15 feet and landed on the mech's shoulder. Her fists hammered into the joint connecting one of its arms. Metal shrieked and buckled. The mech spun, trying to shake her off. Daeho ran underneath it and used his plasma cutter on its leg joint. The armor was too thick to cut through completely, but he damaged the hydraulics. The mech's movement became jerky, unbalanced. Hana tore the arm completely off and jumped clear as the mech swung at her with another limb. She hit the ground rolling, came up running, and attacked from a different angle. They worked together without words now, pure instinct and trust. Daeho would create an opening. Hana would exploit it. Hana would distract. Daeho would damage. They moved like partners in a deadly dance. The mech's programming could not handle it. It was built to fight organized military units, not one unpredictable human and one crazy Valthrine warrior. After 5 minutes of chaotic combat, it had lost 4 arms and was leaking hydraulic fluid from a dozen wounds. The head, Daeho pointed. The main processor is in the head. Hana nodded. She grabbed a broken piece of the mech's own armor and threw it at the machine's chest. As it tracked the projectile, she ran up its remaining arm like a ramp and drove both fists into its sensor cluster. The mech's head exploded, its massive body swayed, sparked, and finally collapsed like a falling building. Silence fell over the corridor. Daeho and Hana stood among the wreckage, breathing hard, covered in hydraulic fluid and sweat. That was insane, Hana said. I know. That should not have worked, but it did. She looked at him and started laughing. It was a beautiful sound, full of relief and joy and disbelief. Daeho joined her, and they stood there giggling like children while the station alarms blared around them. Come on, Daeho finally said. We still need to get to the bay. They ran together, and this time nothing stopped them. The bay doors were still sealed, but Hana pried them open with her bare hands. Inside, Daeho could see his salvage ship, and beyond it, the stars. Daeho, Captain! Tae-Yang's voice crackled over the comm. We see you! We are coming in! The ship descended, its loading ramp already extending. Daeho and Hana ran up it together. The moment they were aboard, the ship blasted away from the dying station. Tae Yang stared at them from the cockpit, his eyes wide. He looked at Dae-ho, then at the unarmored Hana, then back at Dae-ho. "Do I even want to know?" he asked. "Probably not," Dae-ho said. Hana smiled and leaned against him, her breathing finally slowing. "We survived." "Yes, we did. Together. Together." And as the ship jumped to hyperspace, leaving the dead station behind, Dae-ho realized that somewhere in all the chaos and fighting and near-death experiences, everything had changed. He had come looking for salvage and found something much more valuable. The medical bay smelled like antiseptic and recycled air. Dae-ho sat on an examination table while the ship's automated systems checked him for injuries. Across the room, Hana worked on something at the fabrication bench. She had salvaged pieces from the station before they escaped. Now she was assembling them into something that looked like armor, but lighter, less sophisticated. Her hands moved with practiced precision, welding and shaping metal like it was clay. "You do not have to do that," Dae-ho said. "You can rest." Valthrine do not rest when there is work to be done. She did not look up from her task. "Besides, I need protection. My armor's core systems were damaged in the escape. This will serve until I can get proper repairs." Tae Yang appeared in the doorway, holding 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to Dae-ho and stared at Hana like she might explode. "So," Tae Yang said carefully, "do you want to explain why there is a half-naked alien warrior building weapons in our medbay?" "She is not building weapons. She is building armor." "That does not answer my question." Dae-ho sipped his coffee and tried to find words that would make sense. He failed. "It is complicated. I have time." So Dae-ho explained. The station, the mech, the misunderstanding. Hana removing her armor, fighting their way out together. Tae Yang listened without interrupting, his expression cycling through disbelief, shock, and something that might have been amusement. "Let me get this straight," Tae Yang said when Dae-ho finished. "You accidentally proposed to an alien warrior because of a translation error she accepted, and now you are—" "What exactly?" "I do not know. Partners? Friends?" "It is new. Captain, you realize this is going to create a massive diplomatic incident, right? Humans and Valthrine have barely established formal relations. And you went and bonded with one of their warriors?" "I did not mean to." From across the room, Hana spoke without looking up. "Intent does not matter. Action matters. We are bonded by Valthrine law. What comes next, we decide together." Tae Yang rubbed his face. "This is insane. This is beyond insane. This is—" He paused. "Actually, this is the most you thing that has ever happened. Of course you would accidentally marry an alien." "I did not marry her. Bonded, then. Same difference in her culture, apparently." The ship's communication system beeped. Tae Yang went to answer it, leaving Dae-ho alone with his thoughts and his coffee. He watched Hana work, admiring the efficient way she moved. Without the bulky armor, he could see her better, the scars on her arms, the precise control in her hands, the slight smile on her face when she got a piece to fit correctly. "Does it bother you?" Hana asked suddenly. "Does what bother me?" "The bonding. That it happened because of a misunderstanding." She finally looked at him, her golden eyes serious. "Among my people, such bonds are sacred. But I know humans view relationships differently. More casual, more based on emotion than honor." Dae-ho set down his coffee and walked over to her bench. "Honestly, I was terrified at first. I thought I had made a horrible mistake, but then we fought together and it just worked. We worked. So no, it does not bother me. Not anymore." "Good. Because I find I do not wish to undo it. Me neither." They smiled at each other, and the moment stretched between them, comfortable and warm. Then Tae Yang burst back into the room, his face pale. "We have a problem," he said. Actually, we have multiple problems. The news services picked up our escape. Someone got footage of you two fighting the mech. It is everywhere, and I mean everywhere. Every human and Valthrine news channel in the sector. Oh no, Deho said. Tae Yang pulled up a holographic display. News headlines floated in the air, each one more sensational than the last. Human and Valthrine warrior team up in death-defying escape. First cross-species bond confirmed. What does this mean for human-Valthrine relations? But the worst was a message marked as urgent. It showed the seal of the Valthrine Empire. They want to talk to you, Tae Yang said. Both of you. They are sending a diplomatic vessel to intercept us. Hana's face went carefully neutral. Of course they are. I am a commander in the Empire's fleet. My bonding with a human is unprecedented. They will want explanations. What do we tell them? Deho asked. The truth, that I chose you freely, that you earned my respect through action. Hana returned to her work, but Deho could see tension in her shoulders now. Though I suspect my family will have opinions about this. Your family? My sister serves in the diplomatic corps. She will likely be on that ship. Hana attached the final piece of her makeshift armor to her chest plate. She does not approve of impulsive decisions. Is this impulsive? Hana considered the question. For a Valthrine, yes. For a human? I believe this is called going with your feelings. Going with your gut, Deho corrected. And yeah, I did. So did you. Then we faced the consequences together. The Valthrine diplomatic vessel arrived 6 hours later. It was massive, 10 times the size of Deho's salvage ship, covered in elegant armor plating that looked like it had been grown rather than built. When they docked, Deho felt like a mouse entering a cathedral. The delegation that met them was led by a Valthrine female who looked remarkably like Hana. Same features, same golden eyes, but with an air of cool authority that made Deho want to stand up straighter. Sister, Hana said formally. Commander Hana. The other Valthrine looked her over, taking in the makeshift armor, the human standing beside her. I see the reports were accurate. This is Su Min, Hana said to Deho, my battle sister and diplomatic attaché. Su Min studied Deho like he was a specimen under a microscope. You are the human who bonded with my sister. I am Deho, and it was sort of an accident. There are no accidents in bonding, only choices. Su Min circled him slowly. You do not look like much, small, weak, no natural weapons or armor. Why would Hana choose you? Because he is clever, Hana said firmly. Because he adapted where others would have failed. Because he treated me as an equal, not as a curiosity or a threat. And because I make her laugh, Deho added. Su Min stopped walking and stared at him. Laugh? Humans use humor to bond, Hana explained. It is effective. It is strange. But Su Min's expression softened slightly. Still, this creates complications. The Empire must determine if this bond is legitimate or if it was made under duress. You both will be required to appear before the Council of Matriarchs. I understand, Hana said. And you, human, you understand what you are entering into? A Valthrine bond is for life. There is no divorce, no separation except through death. My sister's honor is now tied to yours. Her standing in the Empire depends on your actions. Deho felt the weight of that responsibility settle on his shoulders. It should have terrified him. Instead, he looked at Hana and felt certainty. I understand, he said, and I accept it. Hana's hand found his and squeezed gently. Su Min watched this exchange and sighed. You are both insane. But perhaps that is what the Empire needs. New thinking. New possibilities. She gestured toward the ship. Come, we have much to discuss. And Hana, Mother wants to speak with you. Of course she does, Hana muttered. As they walked deeper into the Valthrine vessel, Deho realized his life had changed completely in just 3 days. He had gone from a simple salvager to someone bonded to an alien warrior, about to meet her family and face a council of the most powerful beings in the Valthrine Empire. But when he looked at Hana walking beside him, her makeshift armor gleaming under the ship's lights, he knew he would not change any of it. Some accidents were worth keeping. The trial chamber was carved from a single piece of black stone. Symbols covered the walls, telling stories of ancient warriors and forgotten battles. Deho stood in the center of the room, feeling very small and very human. Around him sat the council of matriarchs, 7 ancient Valthrine females who had seen centuries of war. Their eyes glowed in the dim light, like predators watching prey. "Human," the eldest matriarch said. Her voice sounded like grinding stone. "You stand accused of bonding with Commander Hana through deception or coercion. How do you answer?" "I did not deceive anyone," Deho said, keeping his voice steady. "There was a misunderstanding, a translation error. But Hana chose to accept the bond knowing it was a mistake. That was her choice, not mine. And yet you accepted as well." "Yes, because I respect her, because we work well together, because—" He paused, searching for the right words. "Because in the time I have known her, she has shown me what true courage looks like. How could I not accept?" Murmurs ran through the council. One of the younger matriarchs leaned forward. "Pretty words, but words are wind. We must see if you are worthy of a warrior like Hana. You will face the trial of worthiness." Deho had known this was coming. Su Min had warned him during the journey here. The trial would test everything: mind, body, spirit. Most humans would fail. Many Valthrine failed. "I am ready," he said, hoping it was true. The first test was combat. They brought him to an arena where a Valthrine warrior waited. The warrior was young, eager, and twice Deho's size. The rules were simple: last 5 minutes without being knocked unconscious or leaving the ring. Deho had no chance of winning a straight fight, so he did not try. When the warrior charged, Deho threw sand he had hidden in his pocket into the warrior's eyes. While the Valthrine sputtered, Deho dove between his legs and grabbed the warrior's ankle. A quick twist sent the massive alien tumbling. Deho rolled away before the warrior could grab him. "Dishonor!" someone shouted from the watching crowd. But the head matriarch raised a hand. "There was no rule against sand. Continue." The fight became a game of keep away. The warrior was stronger and faster, but Deho was smaller and more creative. He used the arena's pillars as obstacles, threw his own boots as distractions, and at one point actually climbed onto the warrior's back and covered his eyes with his jacket. When the 5 minutes ended, both fighters were exhausted. The warrior was frustrated but unhurt. Deho was bruised but conscious. "Unorthodox," the matriarch said, "but effective. You understand that true combat is not about honor. It is about survival." The second test was a puzzle. They brought Deho to a room filled with ancient Valthrine mechanisms, complex gears and crystals that glowed with internal light. A door on the far side was sealed. "Open the door," the matriarch instructed. "Most candidates take 6 hours. Some never solve it." Deho studied the mechanism for 10 minutes. It was beautiful, elegant, and completely alien. He could not understand the logic behind it. The crystals seemed to power the gears, but the pattern made no sense. Then he noticed something. The crystals responded to heat. When he breathed on one, it glowed brighter. Instead of trying to understand the Valthrine logic, Deho used human logic. He found the power source and simply rerouted it. He pulled crystals from non-essential parts and jammed them into the door's locking mechanism. The system overloaded, sparked, and the door clicked open. It took him 40 minutes. You did not solve the puzzle, the matriarch observed. No, I bypassed it. Explain your reasoning. The goal was to open the door, not to understand the mechanism. I used the most efficient path to success. The matriarch's eyes gleamed with something that might have been approval. Practical. Humans think in straight lines when Valthrine think in circles. Both have value. The third test was endurance. They sealed Dae-ho in a chamber that grew hotter and hotter. The air became thick and hard to breathe. Sweat poured from his body. His vision blurred. But Dae-ho had learned meditation techniques during his military service. He slowed his breathing, controlled his heart rate, and focused his mind on a single point. He thought about Hana, about her smile when she learned what humor was, about how she had chosen him despite every logical reason not to. He stayed conscious for 3 hours, long past when most humans would have collapsed. When they finally opened the chamber, he stumbled out and immediately asked, "Did I pass?" The matriarch actually smiled. "You did, but there is one test remaining, the hardest one." They brought him to a quiet room where Hana waited. She wore formal armor now, properly repaired, gleaming with honor and tradition. She looked like a warrior queen from ancient stories. The matriarch sat between them. "Dae-ho, human, you have proven your body and mind. Now prove your heart. Explain why you desire bonding with Commander Hana. And remember, we can sense lies. Speak only truth." This was the test Dae-ho had feared most. Not because he lacked an answer, but because the answer required vulnerability. He looked at Hana and began to speak. "When I first met Hana, I thought she was going to kill me. I was scared, but then we talked, and I realized she was scared too. Scared of being alone, scared of dying without purpose. We shared that fear, even though we come from different worlds. Over the next 2 days, I watched her. I saw how she never gave up, how she adapted to being without her armor, how she listened when I spoke and learned from what I said. She treated me like an equal when she had every reason to see me as less. The truth is, I did not plan to bond with her. It was an accident, but accidents can be gifts. In Hana, I found someone who makes me want to be better, braver, smarter. She sees potential in humanity that we sometimes do not see in ourselves. I desire this bond because life is short and uncertain, because finding someone who understands you is rare and precious, because when I look at her, I see a future worth fighting for." He paused, gathering courage for the final words. "I desire this bond because I think I am falling in love with her, and I am terrified that I am not worthy of that love, but I will spend the rest of my life trying to be." Silence filled the chamber. Hana's eyes were wide, her expression unreadable. The matriarch studied Dae-ho for a long moment. "You speak from the heart," she said finally. "Commander Hana, do you accept this bond freely, knowing all that has been said?" Hana stood. She walked to Dae-ho and took his hands in hers. "I accept," she said. "Not because of honor or duty or custom, but because this human showed me that there are different kinds of strength. Because he made me laugh when I had forgotten how. Because when I removed my armor, he saw me, not the warrior, not the alien, but me. And that is worth more than all the glory in the empire." The matriarch rose. "Then by the authority of the Council of Matriarchs, this bond is recognized as legitimate and sacred. You are joined in the eyes of the Empire." The chamber erupted in noise. Some Valthrine cheered, others argued, but Dae-ho barely heard them. He was too focused on Hana, on the way she smiled at him, on the feeling of her hands holding his. "You meant those words," she said quietly. "Everyone. Good. Because I meant mine too." They stood together in the center of the chaos, an unlikely pair bound by accident and choice, by circumstance and will. The first human Valthrine bond in history, a bridge between two species, and for Day-Ho, the start of something he had stopped believing in a long time ago, a future filled with hope. The Valthrine homeworld was beautiful in a way that made Day-Ho's chest ache. Cities of living metal grew from mountains that touched the clouds. Gardens filled with plants that sang in the wind. Everything was elegant, purposeful, and completely alien. He stood on a balcony overlooking one of these cities, wearing formal clothes that Hana's family had given him. They were too fancy, too stiff, but he appreciated the gesture. Behind him, the bonding ceremony had just ended. His hand still tingled where Hana had placed the neural link band, a thin strip of living metal that bonded to his skin. Regretting it yet? Su-Min appeared beside him, holding two glasses of something that glowed faintly blue. No, should I be? Most humans would be terrified. You just tied yourself legally, socially, and biologically to an alien species. She handed him a glass. This is Halon wine. Do not drink it fast. Day-Ho sipped carefully. It tasted like starlight and electricity. I have made worse decisions. Name one. I once tried to outrun a solar flare in a ship with a broken engine. Did you survive? Obviously. Su-Min laughed. You fit my sister well. Both of you are insane in useful ways. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Below, Valthrine citizens moved through the streets, their armor gleaming, some pointed up at the balcony. News of the bonding had spread across the empire. Day-Ho was famous now, whether he wanted to be or not. Can I ask you something? Day-Ho said. Ask. Why did the council really approve this? It cannot just be because I passed some tests. Su-Min was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was serious. The empire is old, Day-Ho, very old, and old things become rigid, set in their ways. We have not changed our customs in centuries. We fight the same way, think the same way, exist the same way. She gestured to the city below. We are powerful, but we are stagnant. Then humanity appears, young, chaotic, creative. You solve problems in ways we never considered. You adapt faster than any species we have encountered. You scare us because you represent change. When Hana bonded with you, it forced the council to make a choice, reject it and show fear, or accept it and open the door to new possibilities. She smiled. They chose possibility, because deep down, they know we need what humanity offers. And what is that? Hope, innovation, the willingness to break rules when rules no longer serve. Su-Min clinked her glass against his. You are not just bonded to my sister. You are a symbol of what the empire could become. No pressure then. None at all. Hana emerged from the ceremony hall, now wearing a new suit of armor. It was traditional Valthrine design, but incorporated human engineering. Smaller, lighter, with systems that Day-Ho had helped design. A fusion of two cultures. There you are, she said. Mother wants to speak with you. Is that good or bad? With Mother. It is always both. Hana's mother was ancient even by Valthrine standards. Her armor was ceremonial, covered in markings that told the story of 1,000 battles. She sat in a chamber that smelled of incense and old stone. Sit, human, she said, not unkindly but with absolute authority. Day-Ho sat. Hana stood beside him, her hand resting on his shoulder. You have changed my daughter, the mother said. She laughs now. She questions. These are not Valthrine traits. I did not mean to change her. I know. That makes it more significant. The old warrior leaned forward. I fought for 60 years. I won glory, honor, medals, but I never found what you and Hana have found. Connection, understanding, love. The word hung in the air like a bell rung in an empty cathedral. The Empire will use you, the mother continued. Your bond will become political, symbolic. There will be pressure to represent something larger than yourselves. This is inevitable. We understand, Hana said. I am not finished. What I am saying is this. Do not let them make you forget why you bonded in the first place, not for politics or symbolism, but because you chose each other freely. She stood, surprisingly spry for her age. Now go, live your lives, make your own path, and visit your mother more often, Hana. Yes, mother. They left the homeworld 3 days later. Not to return to Daiho's salvage ship, but to start something new. The Empire had offered them a vessel, a hybrid design with both human and Valthrine technology. They had also offered a crew. Tae Yang was there, of course. He had signed on immediately when Daiho asked. Someone needs to keep you from accidentally bonding with any more aliens, he had said. The rest of the crew was mixed. 3 humans, 4 Valthrine, and 1 member of a species called Rethlin, who nobody could pronounce correctly. They gathered in the ship's common area, eyeing each other with curiosity and suspicion. Listen up, Daiho said, standing before them. I know this is strange. Humans and Valthrine do not usually work together, but that is exactly why we are doing it. To prove it can be done. To build something new. This is a salvage vessel, Hana continued, but not just any salvage. We will be recovering technology from dead civilizations, lost colonies, abandoned stations, dangerous work, important work, and we will do it together, using both our strengths. One of the Valthrine warriors raised a hand. What if we cannot agree? Human methods and Valthrine methods are very different. Then we argue until we find a third method that is better than either, Daiho said. That is how progress works. And if that fails? A human engineer asked. Hana smiled. Then I will hit you all with a wrench until you agree. Any other questions? There were no other questions. The ship's name was Harmony, chosen by vote. Daiho thought it was too optimistic, but Hana liked it, so he accepted it. They departed the Valthrine homeworld to cheers from the crowd below. News drones followed them into orbit, documenting the first truly integrated vessel in the sector. 3 weeks into their first mission, they found a derelict colony ship from a species that had gone extinct 1,000 years ago. The interior was a maze of technology that nobody understood. Perfect. Human team, you map the left sections, Hana ordered. Valthrine team, take the right. Look for anything salvageable. They worked for 6 hours, and when they regrouped, both teams had found things the other had missed. The humans had discovered hidden compartments using thermal imaging. The Valthrine had analyzed the ship's structure using techniques passed down for generations. Together, they recovered technology worth a small fortune. That night, the crew celebrated in the common area. Humans and Valthrine drank together, told stories, and slowly began to understand each other. It was not perfect. There were still arguments and misunderstandings. But it was working. Daiho and Hana sat apart from the group, watching their crew interact. We did it, Hana said softly. We built something new. We did, though I think it is just the beginning. Good. I do not want to stop. Daiho took her hand. The neural link band on his wrist pulsed gently, syncing with the one on hers, a physical reminder of their bond. Do you remember the question you asked me? Hana said. On the station? What I desired most? I remember. That is where this all started. Ask me again. Daiho turned to face her fully. Hana, what do you desire most? She smiled, her golden eyes bright with affection and mischief. Adventure, discovery, a life that means something. She paused. And you. Always you. I was about to say the same thing. I know. That is why we work. They sat together as their ship jumped to hyperspace, heading toward the next mission, the next adventure, the next challenge. Around them, their crew celebrated. 2 species learning to work as one, building something that would change the galaxy. It had started with a joke, a misunderstanding, a moment of vulnerability in a dying station. But it had become something real, something powerful, a human and a Valthrine, bonded by choice and strengthened by trust. Proof that different species could not only coexist but thrive together. The stars stretched out before them, infinite and full of possibility. And Daiho knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. Because that was what bonds were for. Not just surviving, but living. Not just existing, but building something worth remembering. They had asked what each desired. The answer was simple, each other, and the future they would create together. And that was enough.